Hi, today is February 14, 2016. This is the video number 14. My name is Alex Varela, and as usual, I'm going to divide this video into 4 parts. Um, Although this time it's going to be more about events that happened over the last days, mostly, than anything else. Like I always say, the events I forgot to mention before: confessions and admissions made by the voice. Um, Events that took place over the last days, and my theories or conclusions. On events I forgot to mention before, I suppose there was a bit of denial there from my part. The fact that some people back in Argentina who were my friends or very close to me, and later to Betty and myself, I'm talking about Gabriel, his wife, Fabiana, Sergio, and Walter. I've known these guys for many years, some of them for more than 30 years. And the truth is that either they are still being threatened in order to avoid any contact with me, or they were involved somewhat since the very beginning. To be honest, I'd like to stick to the first option, although after all the things that happened to us over the years, I wouldn't rule out the second one. The other thing that I forgot to mention before was the fact that we actually applied for a visa, skilled migrant visa, me and my family, back in 2003. We applied actually for the federal system, and we were supposed to go to Sydney. The fact that there was a scoring system, I was unable to reach the minimum points because of my age, basically. I was linked to South Australia on a regional basis, so I discovered a bit about that. So I talked to the migrant agent back then, Michael Booney, and he offered me the regional program in Victoria instead. But I'm going to give more details on the next time about that. In regards to confessions or admissions made by the voice, he's saying that the car Honey has been driving, a Mitsubishi Lancer, lately, supposedly lent by a friend, in fact belongs to him. By the way, he started recently driving his car after months of having the car parked without using it. He also said that the voice had said that he's on drugs and alcohol sometimes, as Dave and Nicholas used to be, and Honey as well. The voice is saying that now that neither he nor the previous one really ever existed. That everything is my imagination, or is what the case they're trying to push now. But that is hard to sell, since people seem to know beforehand what I'm gonna do, sometimes even without me saying a single word about it. The security guard last Friday at Centrelink Dandenong is just one example among many others. On events that took place over the last days, well, on the 7th of February I went to Europa Market using my bike because I couldn't fix my car yet. More hysterical coughing at times. While paying at the checkout, there was a guy staring at me, trying to get my attention. Of course, I ignored him, but the female young cashier was really nervous about the situation. Back at home, during my lunch, Honey approached me and talked about nothing, but he was very loquacious. Recording my video number 13 on my iPhone, I had several interruptions. It didn't happen before, which makes me believe they were desperate to stop me recording the video, something I was able to confirm later when recording another one, and there was not any kind of interruption whatsoever. Regardless of this inconvenience, I was able to do it anyway. I also noticed that while I was trying to record the video, they turned on the ultrasound for a few minutes. During my conversation with Hani, I told him about the arrangement with Ralph about me doing the cleaning and taking care of the wheelie bins, the rubbish bin outside, in exchange of $40 a fortnight. He didn't seem surprised or upset about it. Ralph showed the empty room to some potential tenants that day, last Sunday. On the 8th of February, boys very quiet. Hani didn't go to work, therefore he didn't give my name at his work, as he promised. Text message from Ralph, somebody is coming to live in the house tonight. At night, the new guy sneaked into the house without introductions. Hani seemed to know him, and the voice said he's his employee. At night, Hani was really nervous, and there was tension outside the home as well, the house. On the 9th, Hani approached me at lunch and talked about nothing as usual, but suddenly told me that since my car is broken down, he would like to swap places, since he doesn't like to park his car on the grass. Unbelievable, because he was parking the cars for many months over there. We started a bit of an argument with him, telling me that that is what we agreed, which is bullshit. We never agreed to swap places. We agreed that with Ralph last year, after he was using his car at very strange hours during the night, and it was permanent. I told him that he didn't. I told him that, and he didn't insist, though. He also seemed a bit unsettled when I mentioned Yasa to him, the guy who left a few days before. The new guy turned front door's lights very late at night. I got up and told him I was trying to sleep, and he understood. On the chat I had with Hani, I asked him about the referral he mentioned to me for his work. He said confusing things about his job agency. When I asked him whether it was Matchworks, he said it was Zoom Recruitment in Keysborough instead. At some point I told him my English was not very good. He reacted as he knew about my conversation with Nicholas and Jerry last year. At night I introduced myself to the new guy. I told him about the lights at the front door being annoying while trying to sleep late at night, but tried to be polite as well. I thought that I should mention him that the previous tenant, Yasser, used to cough loudly at night. He smiled and kept silent. It was quite noticeable that the guy didn't ask me any questions about anything, where I was from, if I was working, etc. So I suppose he's got all the information already. After chat with Hani, I had a minor problem with the remote of the digital set-top box, so I thought it could be a good idea to call Foxtel. I was their client since 2006 until 2009, and Hani and the rest of the team were really worried about it. Was it about the existing Wi-Fi network set up with Optus at home, and how they managed to see what I'm doing in my laptop and my mobile phone? It could be a possibility. The 10th, early in the morning, around 3:30, Hani left the house, leaving the lights at the front door on, like the old times. I had an appointment at 10 with Max Employment. Walked down to the office in Dandenong, greeted by the receptionist, Chelsea. She gave me the paperwork to register with them, with their agency, and told me that there should be no problem this time, and signed the papers. After a few minutes, Masuda showed up, saying the problem with the breach employment still was there for them being unable to access my file. All after the phone conversation with Emilia on the 2nd of February, which she told me that everything was fixed, was sorted. I told her about it, and at some point Chelsea suggested that I should scan the job plan that I was given by Matchworks. Actually I did it, but I told her about the situation, with my chat over the phone with Emilia, Ben from Diwa, but nothing will deter these people from being, I don't know, cheaters, because I know very well that they knew about my conversation with Emilia, and which is the original manager. Last week, Masuda said that she was calling her again, and Ben as well, from Diwa, I told Chelsea that if they were unable to fix the problem, I was going to see Paul Patterson at Matchworks, who was able to sign a job plan back in 23rd of November last year without experiencing any of these problems. Chelsea kept repeating that everything would be sorted out, but a few minutes later Masuda said it was impossible to get a hold of her, of Emilia, and nobody was picking up the phone. By the way, at the time I forgot I had Emilia's mobile number from the last time she called me last week. I told her as well that Emilia accepted to reduce the frequency of attendance from 3 times to once a week. She also called, Masuda also called the bridge trying to organize another appointment with them, although I told her that she shouldn't do that. She was desperate to get another appointment with the bridge. She finally told me that I should leave and expect another call from Emilia, who she was unable to talk to over the phone, later on that day. I went to call, small coughing. When I was leaving, I decided to call Emilia to her mobile in regards to my experience at their office. To my surprise, she contradicted everything I was told at their office minutes before by Masuda, saying the problem was actually an unfinished task at Centrelink. So I suppose it's the same pending task that Chris, the team leader at Centrelink Dandenong, told me was finished on the 23rd of November, on the 13th of November last year, and said Matchworks will be, back then he said that Matchworks will be my only job agency from then on. Now Emilia was saying that was another unfinished task and that she never experienced such a thing before. I felt bullied and I told her I strongly believe there is a lot of corruption surrounding my case. She emphatically denied it without further explanation. I repeated that she told me on the 2nd of February that everything was ready for me to be commenced with their agency of Max Employment, and she replied those were not her words. So I told her she was lying and I had recorded the conversation. She became really angry, saying that it was illegal, and I replied that much more illegal was what they were doing to me. And she said she couldn't continue talking to me, and I told her that she was more than welcome to initiate legal actions against me if she thought that was pertinent. Later I called Masuda and I told her about my phone chat with Emilia, and she agreed for now that the problem was effectively Centrelink. I told her again that it was called corruption, and this time she remained quiet and said that I should talk only to Emilia from then on. While walking down my heavy backpack, with my heavy backpack full of groceries from Coles, the police patrol suddenly showed up when I was trying to cross the street, and I thought that they were going to run me over, but they stopped, and also I did for a moment. I kept walking. On the 11th of February, I was watching on internet a football match, and there is a guy who is called Mariano Claus, who is a very well-known football relator from Argentina, and he seemed to know about my mood back then, and I was a bit down that morning, and similar case to what happened with Lopez Murphy, I suppose, with the team providing him with the latest information available about my person. Later, Hani came knocking on my door to talk about nothing, but in the middle of the conversation he was eager to know the details about my agreement with Ralph regarding the cleaning of the house. Forgetting I already gave him that information, but it is not unusual since I think the guy is still on drugs. I mentioned again the name of previous tenant, Yasser, and he seemed moved about that. Despite the hot weather on the 12th of February, I decided to go to Centrelink Dandenong to find out about the unfinished task mentioned by Emilia as the main impediment to be commenced with her agency, Max Employment. I talked to Belinda once there. I talked to Belinda first, since she seemed a bit confused about things going on with my file. I asked her if I could talk to Chris, the team leader, The guy who told me everything was fixed last time I met him on the 13th of November last year. After a short while, he called me up and I explained to him the last developments involving Max Employment, Matchwork, DOR, the breach, etc. I think the guy pretended that he didn't remember me, but after checking the computer as he was showing me the monitor, he said no appointments were recorded regarding Matchworks over the last 3 months, and they were on the 23rd of November last year, on the 11th of December last year, and the last one on the 12th of January this year. When it was him who said that back then that I should be linked to Matchworks only. More importantly, he said, contradicting what Emilia from Max Employment told me that the day before, that there were not any pending tasks at his end, preventing me of being commenced with Max Employment. So I was really surprised at that point. Effectively, they were bullying me again, meaning that either he or Emilia was lying big time. So he decided to ring Billy, the manager of Max Employment in Dandenong, very close, the office is very close to the Centrelink. Instead of calling Emilia, the regional manager, who was the person that I suggested to him to call to. After a brief conversation, he came out with the news that I should sign up a transfer form from the breach to Max Employment in order to start with them. So I told him how on earth Matchworks didn't ask me to sign that form, and more importantly, what happened with the 3 appointments that Matchworks in Dandenong now disappeared from their system. He incredibly answered me that maybe Matchworks lost their contract with Centrelink. That was unbelievable. At this point, the security guard was standing next to him, although I never raised my voice or used bad language at all. And just asking some questions. He finally suggested that I should go to Max Employment and see Billy, the manager there, in regards to the transfer form. But recapping, on the 10th of February, in the morning, Masuda from Max Employment told me that the problem was an unfinished task from the breach employment. And she also tried to organize an appointment with them, something I rejected. Later the same day, Emilia, the regional manager at the same company, Max Employment, called me saying that it was not an unfinished task from the breach, but from Centrelink. And I should expect a phone call within the next 48 hours. That was on the 12th. Lastly, on the 12th of February, Chris, the team leader of Centrelink Dandenong, gave me a third version, now mentioning a transfer form from the breach, an agency I haven't had any contact since the 29th of July 2015. So there were 3 different versions for the same situation. When I got to Max Employment, several strange guys were around. As I walked down the distance between Centrelink and their office, I met Billy and Max Employment and explained the situation again. I signed the transfer form at first. He offered me to take it to the breach office nearby if I wanted to take it personally, but then suggested that he could email to them instead. I asked him about the pending task mentioned by Masuda, but he said that that was sorted and only the transfer form signed by the breach was required. So I asked him if he was sure about that, and he replied he was, because what I didn't want at this point is to leave the form there to stay in some kind of drawer for days, and this guy is saying no, we're not going to sign the form because he's in a pending task to be finished at here, so at this office from the breach, which is something that I've been told before. So, but he said that it's not the case, that no pending tax is at the breach and only the form is required. So let's see what happens over the next days. I asked him once the transfer form is returned, he said they will sign, of course, they will proceed to book another appointment with them during the week or the next one with a consultant other than Masuda, he said. I reminded him of the conditions accepted by Emilia from 3 times to once a week attendance to their offices, and he agreed. He also said that at the moment there are 2 contracts linked to me. One is with mainstream agencies for those who don't have any kind of are ready to work, and another for agencies dealing with people with disabilities. So I don't know what is that situation, and I got some theories I'm going to explain later. The latter, the agencies with people with disabilities have, he said, I have more resources, but actually to waste my time. Actually, I didn't tell him about it. I told him that I don't have any disability, whether mental nor physical. It's only my car is still broken down and I couldn't fix it. On the bus, heading towards Waverley Gardens, a call from Emilia, Max Employment, saying everything was ready to commence me with them again. Although the communication was bad, and I told her I'll call her back later. Something that I did, leaving a message on her voicemail. She sounded less legalistic this time than the previous one, though. While coming back from Safeway on the bus, WhatsApp message from the team on behalf of Vicky saying that she couldn't call me this Saturday and she was going out with friends again. At home, after posting some tweets, Honey came down knocking on my door saying that the rubbish bin in the kitchen was overloaded, mostly with his rubbish, which exceeds largely the income alleged by him from Centrelink, by the way. I told him that he could do it himself, so there was a bit of an argument, and told me he could discuss. I told him he could discuss that with Ralph. I decided to call Ralph, and he was annoyed with me for telling him about the cleaning deal, and we exchanged some WhatsApp messages afterwards, with him calling me idiot several times. I replied that he was the idiot and has no right to insult me, despite being the owner of the house and me only a tenant. After some threats of eviction in 4 weeks, something that I already gone through before in previous houses, he said that he's coming today, Sunday, by the house to further discuss the issue. Well, I offered him the deal because neither Honey nor the other guy, Yasser, wanted to do anything a few weeks ago, and the wheelie bin was overloaded with rubbish, and so he now can go back to share the chores again like it was before, but or do it himself or keep the deal with me. It's entirely up to him. It's the same for me. On the other hand, I got a theory I'd like to test, that it will be really hard for the team to find another house with all the facilities, meaning cameras, internet connection to control my PC, and neighbors being part of the team as well as the boys, etc. But it's only well, I suppose because of the old disposition that I was given to these things. But it's just a theory, like I said before. In regards to my theories and conclusions, the fact that I never experienced this kind of problems with any of the previous 7 or 8 job agencies have been linked to, and just confirmed something very dodgy is happening with my file. On both appointments at Max Employment, they made me sit near the middle of the office area, I suppose for the cameras, to have a better view for the team. The other thing that I noticed lately is that bus drivers are very nervous with me on their buses. I don't know why. Perhaps they watch my videos. I don't know. But nothing I'm saying is related to them at all. It is now more clear than the other theory. Is now more clear than what the voice said about Chris, the team leader at Centrelink. Dan, works for them. It's true. I think he didn't detach me from the breach to support the case of disability that never existed, by the way. I was enrolled with Matchworks, but the appointments with Paul Patterson at that agency have disappeared in their system, because he didn't work for them, for the agency, but for the team. And now he said that they lost the contract with Centrelink. Matchworks lost the contract with Centrelink. which sounds like crap to me. But it's easy to confirm though. But even if it was the case that they lost the contract, there is no reason at all for the appointment to be erased from their system. It's all for now, until the next time when I will give more details about other things that deserve to be mentioned. Thanks and goodbye.